In the Sea of Azov, not far from the temporarily occupied Crimea, a small missile ship of the Russian Project 21631 by NM was hit. This was reported by the main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. On August 28, 2025, as a result of a joint operation of the Active Operations Department of the main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and the Special Unit of the main Intelligence Directorate, Ghosts, in the Sea of Azov near the temporarily occupied Crimea, a small missile ship of the aggressor state of Russia of Project 21631 by NM, a carrier of the cruise missiles Kalibr was hit, the report says. It is noted that fighters of the Special Unit of the main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Ghosts, damaged the ship's radar with an air drone strike, and special forces of the Department of Active Operations of the main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine attacked the board of the carrier of Kalibr. As a result of the strikes, the Russian missile ship, which was in the potential launch zone of the Kalibr missiles in Temryuk Bay, was damaged and was forced to leave the combat duty area, the HUR noted. Earlier, the Ukrainian Navy destroyed a Russian drone base in the temporarily occupied Crimea. The Ukrainian Navy destroyed the forepost UAV base at the Kherson's airfield in the temporarily occupied Crimea. According to preliminary data, up to 3 enemy Mohajer, 6 unmanned aerial vehicles and 2 forepost drones, which were used by the enemy to illuminate the surface situation in the Black Sea, were destroyed.
The summer offensive of Russian occupation forces in Ukraine has failed. Most of Moscow's goals, which were set for the period from April to August 2025, have not been realized. This opinion was expressed by Bild military observer Julian Repka. It is noted that the occupiers tried to capture Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region, despite the fact that in August they managed to break into the city. 3 weeks later, all Russian units were destroyed or captured. In the northern direction, Vladimir Putin's plans to create a security belt in the Chernihiv, Sumy and Kharkiv regions also failed. Less than 70 kilometers of territory along the border ended up under Russia's control. In the south, in the Kherson and Zaporizhia regions, the front remained stable, and the Kremlin was forced to essentially abandon its plans for an offensive, the statement said. At the same time, Ukraine has stepped up drone attacks on oil refineries in Russia. The strikes are carried out at a distance of up to 1,200 kilometers deep into the territory of the aggressor country. Experts say that since the beginning of 2025, Ukraine has been able to disable 17% of the capacity of Russian oil refineries. This has caused prices to rise and fuel shortages within Russia. It is noted that during the summer period, the Russian occupation forces captured about 0.3% of the territory of Ukraine. We are talking about 1,800 square kilometers. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelenski said that he is ready to discuss a ceasefire, but not capitulation as the Kremlin demands. First of all, the organization of the Ukrainian army brings order to the ranks. Among the Russians, on the contrary, a certain fatigue is observed. However, in winter, when the ground freezes and the leaves fall from the trees, which reduces protection against drones, the Russians may try to go on the offensive again. Military expert Gustav Gressel emphasized in a commentary to Bild. Recall, Russian occupiers are trying to enter the territory of the Dnipropetrovsk region. As the spokesman of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Andrei Kovalev, reported, there are battles on the border of the Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions. He added that enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups were trying to penetrate into the territory of Dnipropetrovsk region. At the same time, Kovalev emphasized that reports about the capture of the settlements of Zaporizhia and Novogeorgievka do not correspond to reality. The Ukrainian armed forces carried out a precise strike on the location of the 83rd Separate Airborne Assault Brigade of the Russian Federation. As a result of the attack, dugouts with ammunition caught fire and were destroyed. Footage of the aftermath of the attack were published on the evening of August the 26th by the Russian Z channel ZAVDV associated with the Russian army. The only survivor was a Russian occupier who filmed a video from the scene. The footage shows massive destruction and fires. This is all that is left of our camp. The ammo is exploding. It burned down completely. Completely. People died. It is impossible to get to our dugout. There, where it is burning, these are our dugouts. But it is impossible to get there. The grenades are exploding. I tried to put it out, but it was useless. This is how it all looks, the Russian soldier said off camera. The source did not specify exactly where and when the strike occurred. The 83rd Brigade is stationed in Ussurisk and has been actively involved in the full-scale war against Ukraine since the first days. The unit suffered significant losses even in the first months of the invasion. Thus, at the end of March 2022, the deputy commander of the brigade, Lieutenant Colonel Vitaly Slabtsov, was liquidated. A few days later, on March the 30th, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that a farewell ceremony was held at the unit's permanent deployment point for approximately 200 dead servicemen. In October of the same year, another deputy commander, Lieutenant Colonel Oleg Tashmatov, who was liquidated during military operations on the territory of Ukraine, was buried in Ryazan. Almost 4 years later, the 83rd Brigade continues to suffer heavy losses at the front. Recall, the main Directorate of Intelligence of Ukraine reported a high-profile scandal in the Russian troops. In the 83rd Airborne Assault Brigade, officers massively simulated injuries to receive payments and awards. The amount of appropriated funds exceeded 200 million rubles. This was reported by the HUR. A new corruption scandal has erupted in the ranks of the Russian army. According to the GUR of Ukraine, a large-scale fraud scheme was discovered in the 83rd Separate Guards Airborne Assault Brigade. Servicemen deliberately staged injuries to arrange payments and benefits for themselves. According to documents, more than 30 servicemen of this unit were allegedly injured at the front and underwent treatment in hospitals. In fact, they remained in service, receiving salaries, allowances and compensation while avoiding being sent to the front line.